show. It is late into the evening on Wednesday, December 4th, 2024, and we are getting ever so close to the winter meetings here in the offseason. It's getting colder. We have a flurry of activity each and every week. More teams are making moves, and it's going to be a really exciting week next week for the winter meetings. We'll be here talking all about it next week here on the Late Night Baseball Show. But welcome in this week, folks. We have a little bit of a more fun of an episode today. We decided to take a break from usual baseball talk and do something a little unique. We're doing a baseball movie draft tonight. So we're going to talk about some of our favorite baseball movies, and Parker and I are going to run through that today. Parker, I can't believe that we are just weeks and weeks into this offseason, and finally we are coming up on the winter meetings. I feel like it's just been a slog up to this point.
Yeah, the winter meetings definitely being like the preeminent event of the off season. It feels like there's always the owners' meetings, and almost nothing ever comes out of that except like potential rule changes and stuff. But the winter meetings is like, especially this year, it looks like it is going to be a pretty monumentous occasion in the off season. It looks like a lot of ground is going to be made. And when we think about stuff that's happened in the winter meetings in the past, with like this, most recently, comes to mind for me is the signing of Xander Bogaerts to the Padres. Stuff happens during the winter meetings, so I'm excited because Juan Soto might be signed by the end of the winter meetings, man, and that is just something that I cannot get my mind off of.
Yeah, we know you're hanging on to your seat on that one. Last show we talked about, you and I really want to see him go to the Red Sox. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. For your sake, I hope that's the case, but it is going to be definitely one of the more exciting winter meetings we've had in a while.
Yeah, for sure. And then we have other stuff going on in the sport that is pretty interesting that we're going to get to talk about today. So like looking forward, and then also like kind of leaving a bit of a mess behind. And I'll talk about more about that in the instant replay. I'm excited to just continue making progress through this offseason, because I don't know if you know this, but we're like 75 days away from spring training games and baseball's coming back soon.
When you put it that way, it's how does it feel? Like so much time and not a lot of time at all. It's very weird, the baseball timeline. But today, folks, like I said, baseball movie draft, we're really excited to get into that. We'll save that for the end of the show. We're going to talk about, speaking of rule changes and progression in the game, we have a doozy for you that we're going to talk about today. You may have heard of it. But before we do that, let's go through and talk about some of get some of our instant reactions on some of the biggest stories in the sport over the last week. Parker, what comes to mind?
Well, the first thing I wanted to bring up is kind of what I was talking about, where we're closing a chapter that we're all kind of happy to leave behind, and that's that the Kansas City Royals, this reported by, at least I saw it reported by Jeff Passan on Twitter. The Kansas City Royals have decided to go with Diamond Sports Group, so Bally Sports, as their TV broadcaster for the 2025 baseball season. This is the last team that didn't have a broadcaster going into the season, and so it looks like that this kind of who's going to show the baseball games on TV saga that we've been going through for the last few years kind of looks like that's coming to an end. Which is nice. This is good because it's kind of a black eye on the sport, and it's one of the things that it isn't something we're very proud of, about the fact that the broadcasting rights for baseball are so out of whack. So it's good to see that at least some monicum of a decision has been made on that front.
Yeah, and quite frankly, if you're one of these teams, you'd like to have that, that revenue certainty too. Like the Rangers in particular, over the last two seasons, the ownership of the Rangers made it very clear, like, hey, we don't have a broadcast deal, and it's hard for us to really spend big in free agency and project out what our revenue is going to be. So it's just not good for the sport with all that uncertainty. So that is very exciting to know these teams are kind of back to business as usual, which is awesome.
Yeah, dude. I mean, especially the Royals had such a good season last year.
Yeah.
They're on the up and up. They're an up and coming team with some exciting players on the roster. So it sucked to see this shit happen to them, and really through no fault of their own, their TV provider, which is, for anybody who doesn't know, the TV deals in this sport are the major form of income for these owners and for these franchises most of the time. Ticket sales or something, concessions, whatever. You're not really making too much money off of that. It's the TV deals and who's going to be broadcasting the game every single week, every single day for them during the season. So it's really good to see a team like the Royals actually put this kind of chapter behind them, at least for this upcoming season.
Absolutely. I want to talk about one of the bigger moves made over the last week. The Dodgers just keep doing Dodger things. They lock up Tommy Edmond with a 5-year, $75 million deal. I gotta tell you, Parker. I mean, this is Chris Taylor 2.0 for them, right? Like a scrappy, solid defender, 5-tool player, can run the bases. We saw what he did in the World Series and over the postseason for these Dodgers. Number one, I loved when they picked him up from the Cardinals. I thought it was an amazing trade for him to be locked up and be part of this core for the Dodgers. And you look at the actual value of this deal, it's kind of a steal in my mind.
It is a crazy steal. Tommy Edmond is one of the most undervalued players in baseball, in my opinion. A switch hitter who can play basically any position on defense. He's fast. He hits the ball really well. Brings so much depth to your lineup. I love Tommy Edmond. And by the way, in case anybody didn't know, this deal does have deferred money. And now the dollar amount of deferred money that the Dodgers have across the year 2040 has eclipsed $1 billion. That is how much deferred money the Dodgers are now liable for.
That is amazing. And you know what? I hear a lot of fans out there. I talk to people all the time that are getting all up in arms about this deferred money thing. I'm going to be honest with you, folks. It don't bother me. I don't care. Like, I wish other teams did it. All I care about is teams getting good players, putting good product in the field so we can watch good baseball. If it's deferred money, so be it. Quite frankly, I would be, as a Dodgers fan, I wouldn't care about it being deferred money. I just want the best players, because I guarantee you, Parker, it's all about like the outcome of this, right? Because it would be different if they were deferring money and never getting these players. No one would bat an eye. In fact, fans will be like, well, why are you offering deferred money because you're not signing anyone? But because they're landing all these players, now it's an issue. I really think it's just how we frame that whole deferral concept.
I'm in a position. I kind of agree with you. I do.
Yeah.
There's a part of me though that the reason that the Dodgers can offer deferred money and have it actually be signed is mostly, at least substantially, due to the fact that they are located in Los Angeles, California. The Kansas City Royals, to bring up the team we were just talking about, don't have the luxury of marketing their players to Los Angeles, California. They have to market to Kansas City, Missouri. Hey, yeah. Kansas City, Missouri. I lived not there, but about an hour away from there for 2 years of my life. Beautiful place. It's not Los Angeles, California.
Bingo.
And I think that I did a little bit of research over the last couple of weeks, and I'm not an expert by any means, but I do think that the NFL has such a good model for this type of thing. Now, it's a little bit of a different story. The NFL negotiates all of its media deals for the teams, and every single team gets an exactly 1 out of 32 split of all of the revenue that the entire league makes: jersey sales, ticket sales, money revenue, everything. That is not how baseball works. Baseball is a very old-timey sport. And this system that the NFL currently has literally only took place because the 4 major franchises way back in the 30s and 40s decided to take a loss in order to welcome more teams into the league. That's simply not going to happen in today's baseball climate. These owners are not going to give up the money to make that happen. But I do see it as kind of like this utopia scenario compared to the baseball scenario, because every single team has the same exact salary cap and they have the same exact salary floor. And we've talked about in the past how a salary floor would benefit baseball. So I think with all things made equal, like it looks in the NFL, we see teams go from worst to pretty good pretty often. And we see teams go from good to pretty bad very often. And we see that in baseball not very often. The bad teams are kind of always bad and the good teams are kind of always good, with a few exceptions, i.e. the Diamondbacks in recent years and stuff like that. But when I see what could be, it's so hard to watch what feels like baseball have a genuine super team being built in front of everybody's eyes with what is easy to call an unfair advantage, but in reality is just, I would market it that way if I was in charge of running the Dodgers as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think baseball now more than ever, I mean, this sport, I don't think people realize how much this sport has changed just in the last 5 years. I mean, 5 years ago, that split between the haves and the have-nots, the big markets, the small markets, is so wide. Now, though, I mean, we've been talking about the Royals a lot today, but they're an example of a team, like you said, who took a big leap last year, put the right pieces together. Their scouting has been great. They're signing the right guys, not necessarily the superstars, but the guys they know that will help them in the margins. All teams have this information. When it comes to research and development or analytics, like every team, you put the number in the computer, you get the same shit out. What matters is that extra 10% that you hope you figured out better than the next team. And so if you all are operating under that paradigm, like it is easier for every team to put together a much more competitive team in a different way. Just because the Dodgers do it this way doesn't mean the Royals can't be successful doing it their way. So the disparity, I think, has kind of disappeared. And if the Dodgers want to do that by deferred money and doing it their way, fantastic. But, I will say this is, and we've talked about this World Series a lot. All you have to do is get in the dance. Just because the Dodgers do this every year, or just because they're handing out deferred money like it's candy, doesn't mean they'll win a World Series for the next 7 seasons, right? Like any team can come up. This is what's the beauty of this sport, is any team can come up and have a Cinderella story.
100%. Get in the dance and see what happens, because I think we happen to be in the perfect scenario to blame the Dodgers for all of our problems, because they just won the World Series. They just signed Shohei Ohtani last season. They just handed out a bunch of deferred money last season and this season. So it is very easy to throw rocks at the shiny thing.
Being a baseball fan is also being a part-time hater, is really what it is.
A full-time 90 hours a week hater. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
No, I see where you're coming from, though. Other teams have advantages that they also could play to. And, maybe if you're there. Okay, since we're using the Royals and the Dodgers, the Royals should have every good pitcher in the history of baseball, because nobody hits home runs at Kauffman. So, you're right. There's absolutely different angles that teams could take. It's just frustrating. I'm just a hater.
Everyone struggles hitting home runs at Kauffman Stadium. Sans Bobby Witt Jr. I just want to clarify.
Bobby Witt Jr. just hits 30 of those fucking things every single year.
Parker, next one is a big one for you. Tell us about it.
Is it a big one, or am I just fucking pissed?
Both. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's big. Okay, so Aroldis Chapman to the Boston Red Sox. Aroldis Chapman, famously the Cuban Missile, famously with a lot of off-the-field problems, and famously with a massive regression in his career, with a little bit of a comeback in the last couple seasons. I do want to talk about that a little bit. Here's the deal. On the surface level, did the Red Sox need a hard-throwing left-hander to come out of the bullpen? Somebody who's proven that he can win games? Absolutely. Do I think he's going to be the closer for the Red Sox? I hope not. I hope he's not the closer for the Red Sox, because I think we've seen in recent years that he's not necessarily the lockdown closer guy that he's been. And what do I mean by that? Well, okay, so Aroldis Chapman has had a little bit of trouble over the last year. This is going to be his age 37 season. He's no spring chicken, but I do want to bring a little bit of attention to some numbers that I was looking at, and you guys can thank ChatGPT for this view. It's Aroldis Chapman's numbers, whiff percentage on all of his pitches from 2023 to 2024. So if you look on the left, it's 2023. If you look on the right, it's 2024. If you're not watching on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, guys. We got visuals now. We're leveling up our game.
Boom.
You can see that the whiff percentage on every single one of his pitches has gone down at least somewhat, if not significantly, from 2023 to 2024. I have no reason to believe that this is going to change next year. And if your out pitch, which his splitter and his four-seamer are his out pitches. His splitter does not have that bad of a regression, but his four-seamer has a very significant regression. It just worries me. It worries me. I don't think he's going to be that shutdown closer. I don't think that he's going to be the kind of guy that people think he might still be. Now, I'm not Craig Breslow, but at the end of the day, this was his decision to make. And if he thinks that Aroldis Chapman can give us something out of that bullpen, then that's kind of what we're looking at. One last visual I wanted to bring up before we get off this topic is, so you can look on Baseball Savant and you can see, I'm having trouble. There it is. So you can see different numbers ranked on a percentage scale. If you've never played it on a Baseball Savant, highly recommended. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the screen again.
Yeah.
But we can see his percentile rankings. When you look at things like his expected batting average, you look at things like expected slugging percentage, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. But the problem that I have, and the thing that really, really makes me think that we are on the very, very tail end of this man's career, is when you look at exit velocity and how in 2023 he was in the 91st percentile for exit velocity among all pitchers, and now he's in the 9th percentile in 2024. So when you play in a ballpark like Fenway, when you play in a ballpark that loves to give up home runs, and your exit velocity is 9th percentile, I'm just hoping that Andrew Bailey has a plan on how to fix him. Maybe he sees a mechanical flaw. Maybe he sees something like that. But the Red Sox pitching coaching staff definitely has their work cut out for him if he's going to be a serviceable reliever here moving forward.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, if you look at the biggest need for that team, I think we talked about it at length over the last couple episodes now that, the Red Sox, if they can get a couple bats, a bench guy, a starter or two, I mean, they're looking really good. What's more of a stretch for them, honestly, is that bullpen is pretty rough. So I think you would agree Chapman is a piece of many pieces that they're going to have to add on the fringes for that bullpen. But I also think about Liam Hendricks. I as a former White Sox, love Liam Hendricks. I have not heard much about Liam Hendricks. Did you have a sense of if he's even going to be available next season? I think he is.
Yeah. So the whisper is that he's going to be available next season and that he's looking pretty good. I personally hope he's the closer. That's who I've wanted to be the closer since we signed him in the midst of his recovery from Tommy John.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he can come. Nobody has a competitive fire in him like Liam Hendricks.
For sure.
And I think that just plays in Boston as well as in big sports markets like Chicago, like Boston. I think those are the kind of places that guy needs to pitch in. He's in Boston. He's a very, very, very good back end of the bullpen guy, and I really hope that he's closing games out for the Red Sox. But Aroldis Chapman definitely gives us something. Yeah. I just hope the ball stays in the ballpark.
100%. 100%. All right, what do we have here? Last one for me, instant replay. Vegas, baby. Vegas, all about Vegas. I love Las Vegas. I do not gamble. I do not drink. But I still love Las Vegas. I'm there for the sights. What I will say is I'm very excited to visit the new stadium that's going to be in Las Vegas that is scheduled to be completed and ready by the 2028 season. And there was some significant updates over the last week where, number one, the cost of the stadium actually went up. So for those of you who don't know...
shocker.
Yeah, shocker, right? So for those of you who do not know, the... original cost of the stadium was going to be approximately $1.5 billion. Now it went up to $1.75 billion. And why this is so significant is that the lead owner, John Fisher, big fan, people love him in Oakland, take my word. But John Fisher basically got a letter from lenders, U.S. Bank and Goldman Sachs, and they filed those letters with the county there in Las Vegas. That basically said, hey, yep, John Fisher has the money. He has the investment. He can go ahead and move forward building this ballpark, no problem. So it looks like we're waiting on some final approval from the county. It looks like that's moving forward. And if it does, they're going to start building in the spring of 2025 for a 2028 opening year, which, I mean, I will make the trip. And I mean this. In 2028, I will make the trip to Vegas and go to an A's game. I'm looking forward to it.
I'll be there with you. Let's make that promise with each other right now. We're going to a game in 2028 in Vegas.
Absolutely. We've given each other hell of enough
with
notice.
Sell the Team shirts on.
Yeah. Yeah. Did they keep the A's name?
I think you have to.
That was my initial reaction. But then do you find something more fitting to that locale? I don't know.
You could. Okay. If they don't keep the A's name, they have to take Aces.
That's right. Yeah.
I think they have to be the Aces. But okay. So where I'm at, does this we don't know if this means that they're going to play in Sacramento for 25, 26, and 27, do we? We just
actually,
know about 25.
No, that's confirmed. They are.
Oh, my God. 3 years in a minor league ballpark.
Yep.
Oh,
that's
boy.
rough. That is rough.
And
so
we don't know if Tampa Bay is going to be out of a minor league ballpark by then either.
That's up in the air. We do not know on that one.
Oh,
that one's a murkier situation than the Vegas situation. But all that to say, super pumped. We're going to Vegas. Vegas, baby. Get excited.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Parker, before we get to our movie draft, we got to talk about this. I mean, buddy, when I heard this, I wanted to just reach out right away and talk to you about it, but I thought that would be dumb. Let's save it for the show, because when I heard about this golden at-bat thing, I was like, holy hell, is there a lot to talk about here? So let me catch people up before we even dive into this. So there was an interview by our good friend, Rob Manfred, Commissioner of Baseball, where he shared that in conversations are additional rule changes. And one of the rule changes that is in purely conversation is something called the golden at bat. And how this would work, when I'm saying it, I'm going to laugh. How this works is late in a game, let's say you're in the bottom of the eighth, you're down by 2, you have a runner on second and a runner on first. Say you have your eighth batter up, he's batting a solid 210, can't rely on him. In that moment, using this golden at bat, once per game, you could put any batter in the lineup, currently in the lineup. So you could put Shohei Ohtani in that spot to hit once per game. So he had said that they're considering other rule changes. Again, this is just something that's coming up in conversation. Parker, immediate reaction to something like that.
Well,
All right, and we're done here. That's what we needed.
It's such a weird thing, because no other major sport has something like this. The only thing that I can really equate it to is that when you play soccer, you have set pieces, and basically every time the ball comes to a standstill, you're going to have your best player taking, like, every single Inter Miami set piece, Lionel Messi's foot is striking the ball first. But no other sport has something like that.
No.
In no other sport are we so desperate to improve engagement with the game that we are willing to change, in my opinion, change the face of the game.
Yes. I mean, so I equate it to, like, there are things, and we talked about this, and one day we are going to talk about this in more detail, but the changes that they've made between changing the sides of the bases, the pitching clock, there is true value and true kind of data-driven decision-making that happened here, or with those rule changes. With this, like, are we just playing Super Mario Baseball? Is that what we're doing here? Because that's what it feels like. Like, I think this is something you'd agree with me on. I love this sport because its greatest moments are the guys that come into the bottom of the ninth who haven't done shit all season. They're batting .250. They come in and they have the game-winning hit. They hit the walk-off home run. Like, why would you spoil those moments that make this game so great because you're going to put Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani in every one of those moments every game? I hate it.
I'm genuinely emotional about this rule change because I think back to, like, the 2018 World Series, the World Series MVP being Steve Pearce.
Oh.
There is no fucking way Steve Pearce gets all those at-bats if this rule is in place.
No.
Let me ask you something else. During Aaron Judge's 62 home run season, what do you think that dude would do with conservatively 100 more fucking at-bats?
Every record that we talk about goes out the window. You've invalidated it.
We wanted to put an asterisk in front of Roger Maris's 61 home run season because he had 8 more games, which is what, maybe 30 more at-bats? We have 162 of these fucking games, and you get a golden at-bat for every one?
It's madness. This is now. I'll tell you what, Parker. I was like you. At first, I was angry that we're even talking about this. But then I reminded myself, They are just talking about it. In my heart of hearts, really do think this is one of those stupid, silly things that hopefully we don't ever hear of again. Like, this is a step way too far. So that's all I'll say about it. I was very perturbed, for lack of a better word, when I heard this. I think it would actually be detrimental to the game. I think it takes away the beauty of the sport. And for a million reasons we've already talked about, I would be tremendously pissed off if they did something like this.
I agree. I think so. As somebody who was for the longest time when the designated hitter was in the American League only, I was very anti-DH as a Red Sox fan who had David Ortiz on his team.
Well, yeah, wow.
Now it's like, okay, it's in both leagues. It's part of the game. Okay, we're good. It didn't make any sense to me when only one league had it. Granted, of course, this would be implemented assuming for both leagues at the same time. But the problem is that purist baseball fan in me genuinely just hates it to the core. I was admittedly anti-instant replay when it first started rolling out. I was anti-designated hitter when it was in just one of the two leagues. I just want to see us play the game the way it has literally been the longest running professional sport in American history. I just want to see that continue because I think that the game is in a good spot. I genuinely think with the pitch clock, I think that was what they needed to do. It's now a 2.5 hour game. That's all you needed to accomplish. I really think we're just fixing stuff that ain't broke anymore with this golden at bat rule.
That is exactly right. And hey, we're an open-minded show here. Okay. We are, I think Parker and I both kind of fall on the side of more baseball purists than anything, but we've been open-minded to the rule changes. What I will say is something I forgot to mention, which is hugely impactful here. Like, say you do something like this, you can absolutely say goodbye to relief pitcher ERAs. Gone, inflated.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm Jeff Hoffman or I'm Tanner Scott and I have to come in and I have to face, Shohei Ohtani guaranteed in the 8th or 9th every night, I mean, what the hell's the point? Like, these pitchers, it's going to absolutely tank. And you know what's going to happen because this is how this sport is, right? All of a sudden, those ERAs are going to rise over a course of a year or two, and all of a sudden, these relief pitchers are not going to be paid because the owners aren't going to want to pay them because they're going to take them to arbitration and say, "Well, look how much you suck this year," all because of something like this. It's a trashy situation.
It's going to further separate the top from the bottom in terms of pay in the league. Yeah. The best hitters are going to get paid even more, and the relief pitchers that can consistently get Shohei Ohtani out, they're going to get paid even more money as well. So we're not going to see equity from this. This is going to be a situation that is going to what's the word I'm looking for? Extenuate all of the problems that the game currently has. I think that they're going to get worse if we introduce this.
I mean, and golden at bat too. What is this, like Willy Wonka? What are we doing here? Like golden at bat. Stop.
We need a better. Yeah, we need a better name for it.
God, I don't know. But while we're on the topic, before we leave it, we might as well just have some fun with it while we're shitting on this. So, golden at bat rule. Okay, so if the golden at bat rule, Parker, had been in place for all of baseball history, who would be the player with the most golden at bats? This was posed by a site we both love, the Codified Baseball team, I should say, at Codified Baseball on Blue Sky. They're a great baseball outfit. If you're not following them, please do at Codified Baseball. They posed this question. Parker, I was thinking about this after you raised this, and I think we're going to pick the same person.
I do too. I think it's a slam dunk.
Ready?
I think it's Barry Bonds.
What?
Yeah,
I did not expect you to pick. I do have someone different. I did not expect you to pick that. Please explain.
Okay, so I think that no hitter in history was more feared than Barry Bonds was for about a 6-year span between 1999 and 2005. Specifically, the 4 MVP years from 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, or 2001 through 2004. But I don't know. If I could pick one player in that lineup to hit whenever I wanted them to, it would be him. Why specifically him? Well, I'm thinking about hitters that were spectacular at hitting and also were in lineups that were not stacked top to bottom. because I think that when you have hitters that can hit from top to bottom in a lineup, but let's say the current Dodgers lineup, like sure you would rather have Shohei Ohtani hitting, but are you gonna use your golden at bat in the 5th inning if you have Teoscar Hernandez coming up?
That's a good point.
Like, I don't think you're going to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was not going there. I took a very different approach to this because to me, when I think about what the golden at bat would mean to not only the moment but continuing forward in the game, to me, I want someone that has a very high on-base percentage because naturally that comes with a guy who's going to put the ball in play, who's going to make contact, and even if they don't, they can work a count and get on base to continue that inning, which is going to be important. So for me, I'm surprised you didn't pick this guy. I did go with the all-time on-base percentage leader with a 481 on-base percentage. Mr. Ted Williams is who I went with. For that reason, the guy was getting on base 50% of the time. If you told me I can put a guy in the golden at-bat spot that half of the time is going to get on base, I'll take that. I'll take that every day of the week.
I thought the same thing at first. I did think the same thing at first when it comes to Ted Williams. But the only reason that I didn't is because the intentional walk was not as prevalent back then.
That's true.
And I think that if you have bases loaded or even just if you have a base open and you golden at bat Barry Bonds, he's getting walked. Like he's not seeing any pitches. So that's the thought that I had behind it.
I like that. One little fun fact here, because I have the list of all-time on-base percentage leaders. I thought this was fascinating. Number 19 on this list, the young, the astute, the talented Juan Soto, number 19 all time, ahead of Mickey Mantle, Frank Thomas, Edgar Martinez, Stan Musial, Wade Boggs. That's impressive. I did not realize that.
Yep. It's funny you bring up Wade Boggs because I was just looking the other day. He was an incredible player. The fact that his numbers retired in Tampa, though, is fucking weird.
Very, very weird. Like if you were to shoot...
Not only that, he wore a fucking Rays hat during his Hall of Fame induction.
It literally makes no sense. In fact, the Rays owe him money for doing that, quite frankly. Like,
yeah.
Jeez.
The fact that his numbers retired after 2 seasons, he 800 OPS ball. Like, yeah. But it's like, it's such a Rays move. The team that hangs wild card banners is definitely the team that retires Wade Boggs' number after 2 seasons with the team.
Yeah. In 10 years that we're retiring Chris Archer's number. That's just what's going to happen.
Fernando Rodney's definitely next.
Bingo, done. All right, that was really good. We hate the golden at bat rule. You heard it here. Parker, we've been talking about this for a long time. We're super pumped to go through this. We are going to do our first ever baseball movie draft. So how this is going to work is we're going to each have 5 picks. We're going to pick our top baseball movies. Hopefully we don't steal each other's picks. So each of us will have 5 picks. Parker will take the first pick of this baseball movie draft. Before we even get into it, Parker, I just wanted to ask, like, for you, what do you look for in a good baseball movie? Like, what does a baseball movie have to have for you to be like, yeah, this is my shit?
It's got to make me feel like a fan. I think, like, I'm already obviously a baseball fan, but if I'm like, who's going to win? Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Then that, if it has me like on the edge of my seat, like for instance, I'll use this as an example because it won't give away one of my picks. But my wife and I just watched all of Ted Lasso in like a week and a half. And the entire time, whenever there is a game happening, you are like on the edge of your seat, wanting the team to win. And whenever you find yourself in that kind of a scenario or just super invested like that, it's probably a good piece of media. So yeah, it's got to make me care about the outcome, I think.
I like that. My mind did not go there because for me, it's, first off, I'm big into comedies, so I think I definitely am giving away a little bit here. But for me, I love comedic baseball. I love movies that, when it comes to baseball, make me laugh, and I love things that are kind of outrageous, that take me out of it a little bit. So I think that if we're giving any hints here to how we're going, I think we've kind of laid the groundwork. So without further ado, Parker, why don't you go ahead and make the first pick here in our baseball movie draft?
All right, so I spoiled this one on the last episode, so I'll go with it for my number 5. My number 5 pick is Angels in the Outfield, with a very young Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the young protagonist, and a not as young Danny Glover as the manager of the California Angels of Anaheim of Los Angeles of Anaheim. And what's so funny is, as you watch, because I went back and watched it this week, as you watch the movie, I had no idea what win the pennant meant as a kid. I had no idea what win the pennant meant when I was like a 6-year-old watching this movie.
No chance, right?
But now that I know, this guy was going to abandon his child and come back and basically readopt him if the Angels won the pennant.
Questionable choices.
We had Rangers Diamondbacks in the World Series 2 years ago. Win the pennant, man? Right. What are we talking about?
We need to raise the bar just a little bit. A little bit.
Let's raise the bar a little bit, or maybe lower the bar. Maybe go on a 3-game win streak and take your kid back.
100%. Yeah. Wow. That did not even register in my brain until you said it. That's hilarious. Wait. So you said that was your number 5 pick. So we going in reverse?
I thought so.
Oh, okay.
Built some suspense.
All right. As long as hopefully we don't pick each other's movies, which I actually think we're gonna do pretty well on that. So I'll start with my number 5. Shoot, I didn't write it that way. Hold on. Here's me struggling last minute. All right. So I'm going to do my number 5 pick. I got to figure out which one I want to leave out. All right. My number 5 pick is going to be one that I know is probably dear to your heart for a few different reasons. I'm going with Fever Pitch.
Oh, okay.
I know that was probably the one I was going to steal from you, but wow, I love everything about that movie. First off, if I promise you, if I watched that before I got really into in my younger years when I was a Cubs fan, I would have 100% been a Red Sox fan because Jimmy Fallon was me. I had all my room with Cubs stuff when I was younger, a bunch of baseball stuff. Like, I was that nut, and it's only because I've now been adulting and my wife would not allow it that I don't have more baseball shit in the house, right? Like, it's like every dream to have that sort of setup. Drew Barrymore is in it as well, and their relationship and seeing how obsessed he is. And then just, we've talked about this too, like that movie actually it happening in the 2004 season.
They were filming during the 2004 season and had no clue that was the year.
Like, it makes that movie just legendary, and I can watch it over and over. I get a laugh every time. It's one of my favorites, and it's number 5 for me. Really good.
Yeah, I'm mad you stole that one. Okay, so as somebody who my wife has to, obviously, like, I'm sure you're in the same boat. My wife has to put up with my fandom. My wife knows that I'm probably going to have my AirPods in listening to the Red Sox game for 162 days out of a 6-month period of the year. So for that movie to hit it on the head so hard, and I saw it obviously way before I met my wife, because I met my wife when I was 23 years old. I saw Fever Pitch when I was like 10. So yeah, I don't know. It hit the nail on the head because that was me when my wife met me. And then I remember being like figuring out what we were going to do for our like 2nd, 3rd, 4th date. My wife and I's 2nd date, we went to the location that the Red Sox hold their Winter Fan Fest and sat in the courtyard of the MGM Casino in Springfield, Massachusetts, and watched the Red Sox game on the massive projector screen and just sat there and talked. And when we scheduled the date, we had just organized to go there and get some food and hang out. But I don't think she realized that the Red Sox part of that was a very big part of it for me. And then it became clearer and clearer as we got closer and closer. And now she knows the Red Sox are like a massive part of my life. So yeah, love that pick.
Oh, it's so good. Love it. Love that. All right, number 4. What do you got?
Number 4 for me is, okay, so we're going to find out at the end of this what I'm talking about. But Kevin Costner has 3 major baseball movies. I think 2 of them are amazing, and I think 1 of them is supremely overrated.
Ooh.
Bull Durham is my number 4 pick. I love Bull Durham. Kevin Costner playing Crash, and I couldn't tell you the name of any of the other actors in it, but it's so funny. I saw I saw a humorous take on the movie on Reddit the other day where it was like, Bull Durham is probably the best baseball movie because it's not actually about baseball, it's about sex. And I thought that was a funny way of putting it. It's about baseball, folks, but it is a very, very good baseball movie, and about how like a minor league baseball team can like be kind of the heartbeat of a town, and just the plight of the minor league baseball player and the career minor leaguer and stuff like that. For me, it's a movie about a love of the game that Kevin Costner is really good at illustrating.
You know, it's interesting because, and I'm not saying Bull Durham falls into this category, but it does make me think of, and these are the baseball movies I don't like oh, you know, Mitzi's here watching me play the game, and I'm going to hit the big home run, and like that. No, I don't care. Like, I don't care about that shit. Like, stop. Like, oh, we got married after the big game. Like, stop. No, I don't care about that. Like, that shit just is maddening to me. So you're going to see none of that on my list. I guarantee it.
That's awesome because there's very little comedy on my list.
Okay, good. This is going to go very well. Oh, man. All right. Let's see here. Let me get my bearings. My number 4 pick. Here we go. This is a good one. This is like comedy, baseball comedy at its finest. Major League, friends. Major League. We're going to Cleveland. Cleveland Indians. Major League. I mean, it is one of those movies where first off, it resonates with me because you have an owner who doesn't want to spend money, who wants to move the team, who's putting together the shittiest team of all time of a bunch of rejects to try to tank so she can move this team to somewhere that's not Cleveland. No hate to Cleveland. I personally love Cleveland, but you're Cleveland. Anyway, hilarious movie. Some of the tropes and the players are absolutely incredible. Willie Mays Hayes cracks me up. Love that character. It's fantastic. And Major League 2, just as good. But for me, you can't go better than Major League. Makes me laugh every damn time. And Charlie Sheen, Wild Thing, is probably one of the most kind of, I would say, iconic characters in a baseball movie that has become actually a part of the Cleveland Guardians franchise. Like, it has been it has become a part of telling the story of the Cleveland Indians and the Cleveland Guardians, which is, I think, an extra bonus.
Major League's awesome. I don't have many notes on this. I watched Major League and imitated the players' rituals before games and stuff like that as a kid. I just remember, like, the first time I watched it, I showed up to baseball practice, and I had just watched it for the first time. I got to hang out and talk to all the other guys on the team who had seen it. Major League's awesome, and it's hysterical. Really kind of what I picture going on in the A's clubhouse every single day, kind of. Like, when you realize that the Sacramento Athletics are every bit of what Major League is, it's really fun. It's funny perspective to put on it.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good. We're at number 3. What do you
Number 3. Okay, so here's the other Kevin Costner movie that I really like. For Love of the Game. For Love of the Game, and this is not something that I have seen in a very long time. But part of the reason that I love For Love of the Game is because it was one of those my dad did this a lot during my childhood. We'd be in the car talking, and he'd be like, yeah, you know, during For Love of the Game, when Kevin Costner does that thing. And I'd be like, oh, I haven't seen For Love of the Game. And he would be like, oh, clear your schedule, because that's what we're doing tonight. And that was kind of how For Love of the Game happened for me. Was my dad basically was like, all right, we're ordering pizza and we're watching For Love of the Game. It was awesome. It's one of the best movies, one of the best baseball movies I've ever seen. I think it's perfectly rated. I don't think it's one of those movies that's like, oh, nobody talks about how good it is. I think everybody knows how good For Love of the Game is. But yeah, that's the other Kevin Costner one, which means process of elimination here. I don't really like Field of Dreams.
Okay, so it's funny you say that. Yeah, I don't care for Field of Dreams all that much. I think it's very cliche. I think it's kind of corny. I don't love it. I have not seen love. I have not seen The Love for the Game.
Oh,
for the love
my
of the game.
God.
I have not
For
seen
Love
it.
of the Game is so good. I literally, he says something to himself. So it's about a pitcher who is pitching at the end of his career, and he's making a start. And throughout the course of the start, during the game, he has flashbacks to important moments in his life and stuff like that, how he got there. And he says this thing, and I'm not going to ruin it for you. Whenever he has to make an important pitch, or whenever he's like getting distracted and needs to hone back in, and I literally will say that thing like in the gym before I hit a PR, or when I'm playing baseball and I'm pitching and stuff like that. It's super cool.
Okay,
that movie is definitely something I highly recommend that movie.
Okay, I need to get on that. Clearly, that's something I'm missing out on. Shame on me. All right, Parker, my number 3, this one is so close to my heart. I love it for a million reasons. A League of Their Own. It is, now, all right, hear me out here. It is also, and I understand this, I could see why people think it is also a little corny and a little cheesy. I get that, and I agree. I could see that, right? But yeah, I think it is the point, and there is something to be said about it not only being incredibly funny, and anything with Tom Hanks in it is an absolute banger, but I just love this story of the women's baseball league. While the men are out at war, they're putting on this league in the Midwest, and I love that they subtly had them working out and trying out at Wrigley Field, but they called it Harvey Field instead of a gum guy. They put a chocolate guy in there. Like, it's just stupid shit like that. But there's something about that, about the story where they're at the end and all the women are there from the league, all the players, and they're there at the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, and it gets you. Like, there's something about it where it's a perfect mix of like, I can laugh my ass off the whole time, but there's something very wholesome about the end of that film. It just makes it all around a really good watch, I think.
So we found it, my blind spot, because I have not seen A League of Their Own.
Parker, no way.
I know. Yeah, I have not seen A League of Their Own.
Wow. Okay. So, fun fact. So I wish I prepared. I was not prepared for this. But I do have A League of Their Own, like a 14:16 movie poster. And it is signed by Ann Cusack, who played Shirley Baker, and it's signed by Lori Petty, who was Kit Keller in the movie. And I have it, and I should have brought it out. I'm not going to go get it, but it's one of my prized possessions. I just love that film.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I know there's no crying in baseball. I had a shirt with that on it as a kid. Like, I know where that comes from, but definitely it's not I haven't seen it, and I want to. It's just one of those things, like, just
we all
haven't done it.
Yeah, we all have a number of those things. All right, we're at number 3. We're at number 2. Wow. Okay, you're number 2.
My number 2, I think, is possibly the most underrated one on my list. I love the Clint Eastwood, Amy Adams movie, Trouble with the Curve, so much.
I've never heard of this movie.
You've never heard of Trouble with the Curve?
Never.
Oh my God, it's so good. Okay, Clint Eastwood is a scout. He's like a old school Clint Eastwood kind of scout who's just like, no nonsense, take no shit. And then I'm pretty sure the plot of the movie is that he he doesn't want to be a scout anymore. He tries to retire. And then the team needs him, so they try to pull him out of retirement, and he still says no. And his daughter, who's Amy Adams, shows up on his doorstep and goes, get the fuck out there. We're going, and we're going to go do the damn thing.
Wait. First off, I just used the Google machine. 2012? Where the hell was I? Why haven't I seen this?
I don't know where you were, dude.
What hole was I in 2012?
It's newer, yeah.
What?
It's actually more new than Moneyball.
Wow.
Which is like the newest, oh wow, it's the young guy in town.
Well, I mean, Justin Timberlake and Scooby-Doo's in it, or Shaggy from Scooby-Doo's in it. So, I mean, do I need more reason to watch it?
It's so good. Trouble with the Curve's really good. And the climax of the movie is it's going to tickle a part of your soul as a baseball purist that you're like, oh my God, yes, there's still a spot in the game for that.
Wow,
huge recommendation from me.
This has turned to like a really great segment to a segment of like, what are these idiots doing now watching these movies?
These guys have a baseball podcast.
Yeah,
I haven't seen these movies.
This is the tables have turned here epically. All right. Wow. Okay, I gotta add that one to my list for sure. Number 2, here we are. My number 2 is so outrageous. It is a story that would never happen. It's way out there, but I love everything about it, and that is Rookie of the Year.
Oh yeah.
This, Harry Rollenboozer, he trips and falls, messes up his ligament, and all of a sudden can throw 95-mile-an-hour fastballs and pitches for the Cubs. And
Which back then, I love that it's a 95-mile-an-hour fastball these days. Because if they made the movie today, it'd be 107.
100%. And here's the deal with this. The reason why I loved it as a kid is, number one, when I was a kid, I was a Cubs fan, so I loved that. But like also to pitch for your favorite team, sign me up, right? Like as a kid, I'm like, hell yeah, right? Like that could be me. Mom, trip me right now. I want to bust my ligament. Like that was something that I was obsessed with. I watched it all the time. And even now, it gives me just the good warm and fuzzies of when I was a kid. Rookie of the Year. Fantastic flick.
I love that movie with everything in my soul. I think that the thing with Rookie of the Year, the reason that it's always been so appealing for me is it's every single child's dream.
Yes.
Every single person wishes that they were that kid that somehow got to play for their favorite team, got drafted by the team that they love so much, gets to go out there and play the game on the biggest stage in front of their mom. Like, I don't know. That's like the American dream, dude. That's really good.
Cool. Yeah, it really is. That's a great, great film. Rookie of the Year, and just some really excellent quotes as well. Like it's one of those films that, like, I specifically always remember the pitching coach and the pitching coach saying like, "Oh, you got hot ice. You heat up the ice cubes." Like it's like my favorite line in a baseball movie. It's so stupid,
it's the best
but
of
I love
both worlds.
Yeah, it's the best of both worlds. Oh shit!
I love that movie so much. I playing baseball in a men's league, I will stand on first base as the runner and be like, "Pitcher's got a big butt. Pitcher's got a big butt."
Oh man, it's so childish. I love it because it takes me back to just being a kid and caring about literally nothing else but baseball. It was amazing.
I love it. I love that.
All right, here it is.
Can we do honorable mentions?
I was going to ask you, so we absolutely, after the first pick, will do honorable mentions and do a free-for-all. But why don't you tell us, what is your favorite baseball movie of all time? If you pick mine, I'm going to be so pissed.
My favorite baseball movie of all time is the new kid on the block, Moneyball.
Okay.
I love that movie.
I figured you were going to pick that.
It is. I'm the numbers guy. I love sitting there. I sat on Baseball Savant for 3 hours today, staring at colored circles of Aroldis Chapman's metrics and stuff like that.
Totally normal.
Yeah, 100%. We all do it. I love Moneyball. First of all, Brad Pitt, can't miss him. Gotta love it. But also just like, first of all, the quotability of the movie, the emotional moments of that movie, the fact that they took real game clips and layered them with studio shot clips and things like that. They did shoot most of the baseball scenes in the Oakland Coliseum. And the fact that they made that movie feel so real to me, like I said, I've got to be invested. I've got to really care about what is going on. So I'm I love Moneyball. The scene where Chris Pratt, I forget the character he plays, the real life human being that he plays.
Scott Hatteberg.
Hatteberg. As Scott Hatteberg hits that home run, I like the fact that people still make montages for other sports and other moments set to that music in that style speaks everything to me about what this movie is and like the bastion of baseball society that it has become as quickly as released in 2011.
I mean, and not only is it just objectively a great film, but it's one of those films that I don't think fans, whether you're a fan of the sport and you follow it all the time or you're a new fan, before that movie, I don't think many people really understood the impact that Billy Beane and the A's Moneyball approach had on the rest of baseball. And that really, I think, filled in the gaps for people. And it really accelerated people's understanding of why that is such a crucial era in our sport. And I will admit, I didn't even understand it as well as I thought I did until watching that and seeing it in action. And wow, such an impactful film. It definitely deserves your number one. It is high on the list.
Again, I'm going to make this recommendation that if you watch Moneyball, immediately watch The Comeback on Netflix. They are an unofficial duology in my head now.
Very, very true. I could see why you've connected those timelines. That's a good recommendation. Huh.
All right. Now you get to tell us what your favorite one is.
All right. I'm going to milk the shit out of this right now. Just giving everyone a heads up. So, to me, there's one movie. Just one. When we ran through this exercise and I thought about this, it took me a millisecond to pick my favorite baseball film. Because this film is everything we love about the sport. It's a warm summer day. It's hanging out with your friends. It's dreaming that you're going to be in the majors. It's kind of, facing adversity, putting yourself out there and making friends. It's all the things you worried about as a kid and maybe even as an adult coming to life within the realm of baseball. And it's just pure Americana. And I love everything about it. My number one pick is The Sandlot, the best baseball movie of all time.
I thought you were going to pick this one, so I didn't put it on my list.
Ooh, good on you.
Yeah, I love that movie. I mean, I think we could both probably quote it backwards and forwards, every single moment of that movie. The fact that the actors are still prevalent in baseball culture to this day.
Yeah.
It literally, like you said, it is that summer day, making friends, chasing the girl, hitting home runs.
It's like there's something about it that, like, this is going to sound so weird, but I'm trying to explain it. It just reaches into my very soul. Like, my favorite, it may have one of my favorite single parts in a movie ever that I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I watch it and it gets me emotional. And it is the fireworks.
4th of July fireworks.
Ray Charles singing America the Beautiful. It is incredible, and it gets me every damn time. And I have an out-of-body experience of like, wow, how much do I love baseball in this country where baseball was created? It's one of my favorites scenes of any movie of all time.
So I had the unique experience of playing my Little League baseball for a really small town in Southern Virginia. And on 4th of July, for 2 consecutive years, and then we never did it again, we did that scene. The lights were on at the ballpark, but there was like a fireworks show that the coaches had set up behind the outfield. And we played pickup ball with the fireworks show going on in the background, watching, just taking pauses and watching all the fireworks, cooking hot dogs. It's the best. I love that movie so much. I'm really glad that it made it on the top of your list.
Man, yeah, that was really good. Really good list there. But I think we need there's some are on my list that I did not mention. I'm sure you did as well. So what are a few that you're like, I would be remiss if I did not bring these movies up?
If I didn't mention, well, you mentioned Fever Pitch, and that was going to be one of the ones that I brought up if I didn't put it on my list, or if you hadn't put it on your list. I also think that there's a place that we didn't fill where nonfiction movies, like documentaries, belong. I think that The Comeback is very good. We've already mentioned it once. 4 Days in October. There's a 30 for 30 on Steve Bartman that is super good and deserves a lot of love. And then My wild card honorable mention that I think gets nowhere near the amount of love that it deserves is John Boyce's entire history of the Seattle Mariners on YouTube. It is
oh my God.
4 hours long, and it is can't miss baseball programming.
I have not seen it all. It is something that I have to finish, but you have mentioned this to me before. We have talked about this. Like, it is captivating is not too strong of a word. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, he takes like the most random things to tell the story of the Seattle Mariners, which have an absolutely insane history if nobody is aware. Even non-baseball fans, mutual friends of ours, like our friend Osbro, is not a baseball fan, but has recommended, I've watched him recommend that documentary to people several times. He's like, I'm not a baseball fan, but this is one of the best pieces of sports media ever.
Good. That's good on you for the documentary thing, because it's a good baseball documentary doesn't really get better than that. Obviously, Ken Burns baseball, all timer.
Weirdly, did you ever watch Screwball, the steroid one?
No, never did. Never did.
Worth a watch, but
really,
be warned, it is weird. It is what the creative decisions that they decided to make. They represented all the players involved using like babies. They used babies who played the characters and like toddlers who had like voiceover done for them. And do you ever watch like the old movies where like it would be about cats and dogs and they would move the dog's mouth and make it look like they were talking?
Yeah.
That's what they did to the babies. So there's a baby that's like Alex fucking Rodriguez. Like that baby's Alex Rodriguez. And it's hysterical, weird, but does a really good job of telling the story of the biogenesis clinic down in Florida that was just pumping baseball full of steroids.
I mean, that sounds great and all, but can you tell it not with babies?
It makes it so you can't stop watching. So I think the creative choice actually played a part in me finishing that documentary.
Wow, I'm kind of at a loss for words. That sounds really messed up.
It's weird. It's crazy. It's a good doc though. It's good.
I have a few that I'm going to be honest with you. They're in the realm of comedies because those are my favorite movies, baseball movies. But I couldn't put them in my top 5 because they are legitimately the most ridiculous baseball movies, and there's 2. Number 1. Mr. 3000 with Bernie Mac.
I haven't seen that one either.
Oh, okay. So you have to see it. It is ridiculous, dumb, and just unrealistic. Basically,
sounds great.
Right? Everything, recipe for success. So Bernie Mac plays Stan Ross, who has retired. He played his career with the Milwaukee Brewers. And he apparently, after a random audit was done on the record books, he did not hit 3,000. He's like 3 hits short of 3,000. So this, late 40s, early 50s, Bernie Mac has to go back to the Brewers, which would totally be a thing. They would take him back, of course, and pitch and put him in the lineup and tries to get these hits. All the while, the hits he gets are like infield bunts, and he can't hit for shit. And there's a guy on a team that is Studebaker who's hitting 45 home runs, the hot shot on the team. It is absolutely bonkers, but I can't. It's like an accident. You can't look away. That's how Mr. 3000 is.
That's awesome. That sounds really good.
You need to check it out. You will. It would be an epically successful waste of time.
I have 2 more real quick that I want to mention that I forgot about. Pride of the Yankees. Gary Cooper playing Lou Gehrig. Super old movie, but very good. About the story of Lou Gehrig. And then I forget. I think it's just called The Babe, but whichever one not John Grisham.
That is The Babe with John Goodman.
Yeah, John Goodman plays Babe Ruth. That's a very good movie too. That
one I have not seen. Huh.
I saw it on like TNT one day and I was like, all right, this is what I'm doing.
Here's baseball. Let's watch this.
Yep.
Last one I have. This is a newer one. This is by far the silliest and stupidest of them on my list, but the funniest, I think, and that is the Benchwarmers. I love the Benchwarmers. Rob Schneider, Bill Hader, or not Bill Hader. What's his name? Tall guy.
The guy who plays
Napoleon Dynamite guy.
I think his name is Napoleon Dynamite.
No.
I don't know his actual name.
Mr. Dynamite and
David Spade.
David Spade. And let me tell you, that movie is just so it's just the shit they say in that movie is some of the dumbest I've ever heard in a movie. Mm-hmm. But man, it's just so funny, and it gets me every damn time.
Everybody quotes that movie, even if they don't know it's that movie. When they say, "I'm 12."
Yeah, right. That's my favorite part. I am 12. Yeah. Oh, the memes are fantastic. They must put steroids in macaroni.
Yeah. We're having macaroni tonight. That means garlic bread. Yes.
Oh, it's such a quotable film. I just love it. I
love that movie.
Oh goodness, Parker, that was a hell of a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that one. Next week, it's going to be a big show, folks. We want you all here joining us on the Late Night Baseball Show because, like I said, Parker, it's going to be a huge week next week. We're going to be doing a show next Thursday at the end of the winter meetings. We're going to have a crap ton to talk about, and I'm just letting everyone know. We usually run our shows at about an hour because we can't shut the hell up. I will not be surprised if we go longer next week. But Parker, what are you most looking forward to for this winter meetings?
I need to see Juan Soto. I need to see him find a team, maybe progress. No, I don't need progress. I want him to sign. I want him to sign during the winter meetings, which is not anywhere near out of the question. I think that he will sign during the winter meetings. And I'm either going to be the happiest man or the most depressed baseball fan on the planet next week. We're going to find out, and it has entirely to do with Juan Soto.
Well, we will be here. We will do a wellness check on Parker all at the same time. But, folks, we are happy that you're tuning in on the Late Night Baseball Show. As Parker alluded to earlier, we are here wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. We're here. But we are now on YouTube, so you get to see our ugly mugs every week if you choose on YouTube and following along with us. We highly recommend doing that because, as Parker showed today, we're going to start showing some more graphics and have some visuals for us as we talk baseball each and every week. Because here on the Late Night Baseball Show, no topics off limits, and we're just two guys having a great time talking about the best sport in the world and also some really quality movies on certain weeks. So make sure you follow along, subscribe, leave us a review. We appreciate it. Until next time, folks, we'll see you next week here on the Late Night Baseball Show. Take care.
Pablo Sanchez from Backyard Baseball is the best Golden Nut bat of all time.
Accurate.